Alright guys, so here it is, my Daredevil Q&A. I want to thank everybody who sent in questions, but if someone didn't get their question answered, that usually means YouTube either marked it as spam or didn't have it at all on the list. So I do apologize for that. What was I going to say? Let's get things started with Nick. First question comes from Nicholas Harley, who asks, Daredevil versus Spider-Man, who wins? Okay, this has actually happened multiple times, and each time it's usually Daredevil comes out on top against Spider-Man in a majority of the fights. Although sometimes Spider-Man does get the heads up. It's a common thing, really. Second question. How would you insert Daredevil into Captain America Civil War? This is actually something Charlie Cox, the actor who plays Daredevil in the Netflix series, has actually kind of talked about. I think it would be cool if they had him not as Daredevil from the get-go, but I think it would be cool if they just had Matt Murdock in there, and he's serving Tony a subpoena for something. Like, he's serving him a subpoena for a pregnancy test, and then he's like, and Matt's like, I just serve him out, sir. Don't be mad at me. I think it'd just be funny. I think if Daredevil was going to be in the show, the movie, we'd have known by now. But I think it'd be cool as like a cool cameo as Charlie Cox's Matt Murdock, and then bring him in for something bigger, you know? Third question, how would you make Daredevil into a movie? We already had that with Daredevil, and it didn't turn out so well, so I'm kind of okay with the Netflix show. I mean, yeah, Season 2 had its flaws here and there, but god damn was it still good. I mean, it's no Arrow. Anyway, moving on. Thank you for those questions, Nicholas. Moving on now to MB Free, who asks, what songs or bands would Matt have on his playlist? Ooh, good question. I kind of imagine Matt would listen to like smooth jazz or something, like not like something like from the Daredevil movie soundtrack. Which, by the way, the Daredevil, like, as much as I don't hate the Daredevil movie. I know this question's going to come up, so I'll save more for it for later. But the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie's not terrible. It's not great, but it's not terrible either. And the movie has actually probably one of the best superhero soundtracks ever. I mean, that's the song that got Evanescence into the big mainstream. That's what got Evanescence such a big following, from just Bring Me to Life and all that, so if anything. But I don't think it would be on his playlist, honestly. I think, if anything, Matt would be listening to like smooth jazz, or maybe like something from The Doors, some 70s rock as well, something like that. Second question, how does Matt react to meeting Green Hornet and the Shadow? I think you'd be like, motherfuckers, you kill people. But no, I would love to see Daredevil team up with Green Hornet or the Shadow. I think that'd be so cool to see. Anyway, sorry, I had to get some water. So, third question: if you could, what would you change about the Daredevil movie? Maybe take out Elektra and not try to do the entire Frank Miller run in 100 goddamn minute movie. I would actually take out Elektra entirely, save her for a sequel, use Karen Page instead, and I don't know if I'd have Kingpin in the movie. Maybe I would, but in the shadows, and I wouldn't have Bullseye in the movie either, and I'd actually have maybe someone like the Owl as the big major villain, maybe. Anyway, think of those questions, NB. NB Free. Moving on now to Darth Venom, who asks, was there a Daredevil video game that was supposed to come out... There was a Daredevil video game that was supposed to come out in 2004 but was never released. What are your thoughts on that? I think, from what I understand, the Daredevil video game had some very poor quality to it, so I'm kind of glad it didn't happen. Now I'm just kind of waiting for Rocksteady to do a Marvel game, preferably on Daredevil, because you did so well on Batman, come on, give us Daredevil. Second question. How would you compare Hell's Kitchen to Gotham City? Hell's Kitchen's just a district. Gotham City's a city. So really, it's a matter of size, really. Anyway. Third question. If Daredevil was in the DC universe, what teams would he join? Probably Justice League, or Justice League or Birds of Prey. They have had male members before in Birds of Prey, even though it's a mostly male-predominant team, but I think he would be on that too. Sending those questions to Darth Venom. Moving on now to Andrew Varney and asks, Daredevil Steven Universe crossover. How might that work out? Maybe Mayor Dewey is accused of fraud, and even though he's not, he's been accused of fraud and losing a lot of money, so he calls Nelson and Murdoch to help him out, and shenanigans ensue. That's the best I could think of. Sorry to get some water. Second question. Triceracop, Peridot, Abridged Nappa, and Strax all end up in legal hot water. How would Matt take their cases? I don't think he would. I think he might take Peridot and Triceracop, but I think it would be like, I just cannot work with these people. I cannot. Excuse me. So, third question. How might Daredevil react to the following? Johnny Cage, Yoda telling him he's Force-sensitive, Goku's eating habits, the Straw Hat Pirates, Phineas and Ferb, and last but not least, Batman. Well, Batman he's already met twice in 2 different crossovers, so, yeah. Yoda telling him he's Force-sensitive, he'd be like, oh, shit, yeah. Johnny Cage, I think he'd want to punch him in the face. Goku's eating habits, he'd be like, how are you not obese? The Straw Hat Pirates, he'd be like, you're not pirates. And Phineas and Ferb, I think he'd be impressed. I'm just speed rounding that one. Anyway, so thank you for those questions, Andrew Varney. Moving on now to 146 Zigzag, who asks, if Ben Affleck from 2003 was transported to 2015 and played Daredevil in the show instead of Charlie Cox, do you think he would have done it in comparison to Cox? Would the show have been as good or better? I think Ben Affleck gets a lot of flack for that movie because that movie was going through a lot. Was pretty bad in of itself, and I don't think he's the worst thing. He's not the best, but not the worst thing about that film. And let's face it, the writing wasn't that good. So, yeah, I still think he would be cool in the Marvel movie. I just think that wasn't the right pick for him. Anyway, second question: would you prefer if Daredevil did a crossover with the Marvel Cinematic Universe or stay on his own? He's already technically in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's part of that universe. Even though the TV show barely acknowledges the movies, he's still part of that universe. So technically, he's in that universe. But like I said, I think it would be cool if we got like a little cameo from him, and maybe we'll see him in Infinity War. Who knows? So, third question. Other than Miller's work, what comic material do you think is the most important to Daredevil's character and world? Of course, the Stan Lee and John Romita run. That's like goddamn important because that's what started it all. I think also I think it was John Romita who did that work. I think it was John Romita who did that, and then it went to Steve Ditko. I could be mixing that up though. I think I just rhymed as well. Anyway, but getting back on track. Of course, outside of Miller, you have Mark Waid. Even though he's one of the newer writers, man, that dude knew how to make Daredevil such a relevant character and do some dark stuff, but he could still do some fun comic book stuff as well. I think also, of course, you can't leave out the importance of the Ed Brubaker run as well as the Bendis and Malieve run. So those are the major ones for me. Anyway, thank you for those questions. Zigzag. Moving on now to Travis Rendon, who asks, which organization is the most dangerous, the Hand or the Foot? I'd have to give it to both, really. They're both incredibly dangerous in their own rights, and the Hand, I would give it to the Hand more, because the Foot is mostly based in New York and Japan. The Foot is the Foot is everywhere. The Hand is everywhere. The Foot is just in New York and Japan. That's really where their bases are. And you could argue, yeah, that's where the Hand are too, but no, they have bases everywhere. I think even once they tried to make a base in Atlantis. Could be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. Second question. If you see Matt team up with Blade to fight some could you see tongue-tied. Could you see Matt team up with Blade to fight some vampires in New York? Well, that's happened in the comics before, but I'd love to see it in the TV series. Third question. How would both Matt and Toph react to each other, and what would go down in a fight? How would it go down in a fight? Just talking, or if it's adult Toph fucking? I don't think they would get along in a relationship, but I think it would be cool to see how since their powers work so similar. And yeah, Mike and Brian have admitted that Daredevil was a major inspiration for Toph's abilities. You know, they like the idea of a blind superhero with all of our other senses more increased. So Daredevil was a major inspiration for Toph. I think it would be cool just to see them talk with one another, just kind of like they both are, you know, if it's older Toph, just kind of have that Law and Order, because I feel like Toph would be a really hard-ass cop. And I'm pretty sure she was. But no sex, I don't see that. But anyway, thank you for those questions, Travis. Moving on now to Jason Voorhees 2011. Jason Voorhees 2011, his first question is, what Daredevil stories would you recommend outside of Miller's run? Now I'm going to answer this because he's asking me what comics would I recommend for reading Daredevil. I would say the biggest ones are, of course, the Stan Lee stuff, but if you want something a little more modern, go read the Ed Brubaker run, as well as the Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev run. Those are very important. They have the darkness of Frank Miller and are very gritty. If you like the Miller stuff, then just keep with that. The reason why I'm not suggesting the Mark Waid run is because Marvel kept rebooting it. Marvel kept renumbering it, and it's going to get confusing as all hell to try to find the... actually, no, I think there's a Mark Waid Daredevil Omnibus out. At least the first volume of that. So if you want to check, go check out the Mark Waid run as well. But first and foremost, I would suggest reading the Brubaker and Bendis runs, respectively. But yeah, the Mark Waid run may be a little confusing because they keep renumbering it. Yeah. So, second question. What would go down in a meeting between Daredevil and the Mirage version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? It would be fucking badass, first and foremost. But I would love to see, Daredevil, especially fight Raphael or Leonardo. Because here's the thing, and I know I'm going to get this more, so I might as well get this out first. Here's the thing about the Batman TMNT crossover that I just have not been liking so far. I've just not really liked it. Is that Batman is beating the Turtles. He's, in their first encounter, the Turtles, and even Splinter, mark this day, the Turtles and Splinter get, beat by Batman. Well, he beats the Turtles, and then he fights Splinter to a draw. Like, he gives him major difficulty. And I'm like, really? Fucking really? We're going there, DC. I mean, I know, yeah, the Turtles work better in a group, but separately they could have, I could see him beating Mikey or Donnie, but Raph and Leo? Come on, man. It feels like they're playing Nutty Hugger with Batman in that one. So I would be a lot if we ever get a Daredevil TMNT crossover. I just wish it would be a little more fairer, So third question: what other places outside the Marvel universe could you see Daredevil protect in the same way he protects Hell's Kitchen? I'd like to see him in outside the Marvel universe. I think he'd be cool in Hub City alongside the Question. That'd be cool. Or maybe skulking around Gravity Falls, or maybe What would be another fun place for him to hang out? I don't know. Those would be a few places that come to mind. Anyway, think of those questions, Jason. Moving on now to Nolan Uno, who asks, I hope I'm saying that last name right, Nolan. But Nolan's first question is, top 5 Daredevil crossovers you want to see. Top 5 Daredevil crossovers I would love to see are, first and foremost, Daredevil TMNT. That's like a must. Second one would be Daredevil and Black Lagoon. That just makes sense. Daredevil and I had 3 others. Daredevil and Lupin the Third, if you guys know that anime. Yeah, Daredevil, Lupin the Third, that would be fun. Daredevil and I think Daredevil and the Crow. Yeah, Daredevil and the Crow would be an awesome crossover. And finally, Daredevil with maybe X-Files. That'd be a fun one. So there you go. Second question: how excited will you be if there's a war going on? But how excited will you be if there was a war going between Daredevil TV show crossover with Arrow and Flash? I wouldn't be excited at all, because unless it's the Daredevil showrunners working that crossover and it's the Arrow writers, then no, I would not watch that, because it would be like 20 minutes of fighting against Arrow or Flash, and the rest of it dealing with romantic bullshit. Third question: if you zap into the Daredevil TV show and meet Daredevil, what would you say to him, and what would you do with him? I would say, "Good job, Matt. Keep kicking ass." So thank you for those questions, Nolan. Moving on now to Linerman0245, who asks, do you think Bullseye will show up in Daredevil Season 3? I think it's a strong possibility. I think it's a very strong possibility that we may see Bullseye in Daredevil Season 3. We've been building up, he's the one character we have yet to see out of Daredevil's major rogues galleries. I mean, we've got the Hand, we've got Fisk, and all we need now is Bullseye. So I think it would be cool to see Bullseye, who, at this point in the show, Matt's reached his lowest point. So I think it would be cool if we brought in Daredevil's greatest nemesis to really kind of challenge him as he's rising up, or should I say, born again. Second question: if Daredevil and the Eds were in the same room, how would they react to each other? Not well. It would not be well, because Eddie would be constantly lying, and Daredevil would be like, stop, stop, stop. Anyway, so, one more question. How would Daredevil react to the various attorneys in Ace Attorney franchise? I think he would be like, the fuck? So anyway, thank you for those questions, Liner. Moving on now to Overnerd03, who asks, Overnerd has asked 5 questions, and I said there's only a 3-question limit, so I will be only answering 3 questions. Not to be mean or anything, that's kind of one of the rules. One of the 2 rules were only 3 questions per person. But yeah, I'm going to answer the first 3. Answer this if you've only seen Season 2. Do you think Born Again should be used for the plot of Season 3? Yeah. I feel like that's where they're going, because Matt's pretty much hit a real low point in his life after Elektra's dead. Foggy and Murdoch has been, dismantled. Nelson and Murdoch has been dismantled, and now he kind of revealed himself that he's Daredevil to Karen. So Wilson Fisk did promise that he was going to come back and just destroy everything. So yeah, I think that's the logical place to go. Anyway, second question: in case you could not answer question 1, which villain should show up in Season 3? I kind of already did a video on that topic, really. And the major ones outside of Bullseye are like the Owl and Mr. Fear. Those are like the 2 major ones. And Typhoid Mary. Typhoid Mary would be great, too. Third question: which street-level hero should show up in the next season of Daredevil? I kind of want it just be Daredevil. I mean, it was cool to see Punisher, and it was nice to see his story be formed, but I kind of want it just to be Daredevil's story now, Anyway, thank you for those questions, Overnerd. And again, sorry I did not answer the other 2, but that's kind of the rules. Sorry. Moving on now to Dylan Malone 14, who asks, Daredevil's most underrated villain. Stiltman! That was easy. Second question: using any media you want, what do you want to see Daredevil crossover with, and why? Kind of already answered this with the 5 ones, but first and foremost, Daredevil TMNT. Do you ever think Daredevil will ever appear in the MCU? He kind of already exists, like I said before, but in movie-wise, Civil War would be cool and whatnot, but yeah. Alright. Moving on now to Jesse Sutres, who asks, first question. While on a mission with the new Avengers who are trying to defeat a godlike version of the Spot, who stole a time-traveling technology from Parker Industries, Matt is thrown in the 1960s where he meets his Silver Age counterpart. What happens next? Shenanigans. And also, Matt would be like, why did I go with yellow? Oh my god. Second question. According to a book I own entitled The Complete History of Superheroes in Movies and Television, Volume 2, there was going to be a Daredevil cartoon similar to Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends in tone. During the 1970s, wherein Matt would drive around New York in a minivan with a cannon on its roof that would launch Daredevil towards random rooftops where he could spy on criminals that were devastating the Oh my god, I hope this was real. Why isn't this a thing? If this cartoon actually existed, would you consider it to be a guilty pleasure or one of the... I'd call it one of those goddamn amazing things ever. Daredevil being shot out of a cannon in a van? Fuck yeah. Third question. If you could temporarily give Matt Murdock an additional disability besides blindness, what would it be and why? Maybe take away his hearing. That's one of his major functions, so take away his hearing. For a short time. And I think it's been done before a few times, actually. But anyway, thank you for those questions, Jesse. Moving on now to John Kelly. And he asked, do you think an adult Randy Cunningham with his memories of being the ninja could replace an older Daredevil? Yeah. Older Randy, yeah, kind of like Batman Beyond that shit. Absolutely. I think that would be kind of cool. So, yeah. Anyway. Moving on now to Gangster Shy Guy, who asks, if Mr. Freeze was part of Daredevil's Rogues Gallery, how do you think would make him a threat, and what kind of impact would Daredevil have in learning Mr. Freeze's backstory? I think he would be very sympathetic towards Mr. Freeze, Freeze's backstory, and try to help him, because Daredevil does want to help people. It's kind of like Batman, where he's all grim and gritty, but in the end, he wants to help you. He really wants to help people. So yeah. So I think that's kind of one way to look at it. But I think he would be a great villain. Second question: how would you write a one-shot story if Daredevil was a villain? I think they kind of took any idea I had with Spider-Gwen's evil Daredevil. So yeah. Anyway. Moving on, thank you for those questions, Gangster Shy Guy. Moving on now to Green Arrow Hunter, and he asks, Daredevil versus Green Arrow, who wins? Daredevil is, if this is, I know Superpower Beatdown's talking about doing Daredevil versus Green Arrow, so I guess we'll have to wait till then, but my money's on Matt. Anyway, would you like to see Born Again? Yeah, like I already said, yeah. What is your favorite Daredevil fan film? There's one by Blinky 5000 called, I can't remember. It's called Daredevil Year One or something. No, not Year One. It's Daredevil the 1980s or something, and it's a spin-off of a series of Punisher fan films, and it's awesome. It involves Typhoid Mary. There's some really great writing. It's such a kick-ass fan film, and it really does make you wish for that David Slade movie that was supposed to happen with Daredevil but never did, and got probably for the better too. But anyway. Thank you for those questions, Green Arrow Hunter. Moving on now to J Witch Dragon, who asks, how would you do a Daredevil TMNT crossover? I'm going to answer this one because, it's asking me how I would do a crossover. I think just in a nutshell, it would be a war between the Hand and the Foot, and Daredevil and the Turtles are caught in the crossfire. That's kind of explains itself. The Hand and the Foot clan are at war with one another. Second question, would you like to see Bullseye in the suit? Yeah, answered yes, I would. Second, would Matt make a good Green Lantern since he's called the Man Without Fear? I think he would be. I think he would make a good Green Lantern. Ugh. Anyway, sorry to get some more water. Next questions come from Mr. Emerald123, who asks, if Daredevil and Seto Kaiba met, what would they think of each other? I think Daredevil would be like, fucking prick. And Kaiba would be like, fucking clown. That'd be it, really. Second question. If Marvel asked you to do a live-action version of Shadowland, how would you do it? I think I would leave out Matt being possessed by the beast, the thing that rules the hand, and I think I would just have it maybe everyone versus the hand. That's all I can think of, because that's all I got. Third question: has Daredevil fought other heroes' rogues gallery beside his own? Oh yeah, all the time. The Spot, for instance, the Purple Man, the Dr. Octopus. I could go on and on. Anyway, thank you for those questions, Mr. Emerald. Moving on now to RoboKaiju75, who asks, have you read the Batman Daredevil comic, a crossover comic, and if so, what are your thoughts on it? Now, there are actually two, but the one involving Kingpin and Scarecrow is incredibly hard to find, at least for me. But I have read the other one involving Two-Face and Mr. Hyde, which is actually a pretty decent comic. Scott McDaniel's artwork kind of hit and miss, but I think it works out fine enough. So I think it's pretty good. Second question. I haven't read any Daredevil comics, but I really want to like the character. Can you recommend any good Daredevil comics for me and read as a good starting point? Like I said, Frank Miller's the place to go, and then Ed Brubaker and Alex Maleev. Those are the three big starting points right there. Third question. How would you do a Daredevil game if given the chance, and what Marvel characters would you have show up as cameos? I don't know what I would do for the game, but in terms of Marvel characters that would cameo, Moon Knight, Spider-Man, and Punisher. Those three right there in particular. And Elektra's already part of his universe, so yeah. So moving on now to Nick Lenz, who asks, first, how would you like to see Spider-Man and Daredevil team up the MCU if they do it all? They do it all the time. I would love to see Spidey and Matt team up in in this continuity. I would love to see it, absolutely. Second question: who are your favorite Daredevil writers? Frank Miller. Yeah, Frank Miller, Ed Brubaker, Mark Waid, Stan Lee, and Brian Michael Bendis. It's kind of. I know I bring them up a lot, but they really do some great stuff with the characters. So yeah. Third, what if Spider-Man and Daredevil teamed up with the Ninja Turtles to take on the Hand and the Foot? Who else would you like to see team up or with them to take on the Foot Clan? Punisher and the Mutanimals and Elektra. With Casey Jones as well. Alright. Moving on now to Wolfman the Impaler, who asks, Hotel Moscow tries to set up business in Hell's Kitchen after Kingpin is arrested. How does Daredevil react? Man, Daredevil, Hotel Moscow would make, Bella Lyka should make such a great enemy for Matt Murdock. I think I've actually talked about, I think I have anyway, in Hero Villain Mashup of how her and Hotel Moscow would just completely decimate Matt's life and just if they can't have, and if they, here's the thing about Hotel Moscow, if they can't have something, they'll make goddamn sure you don't have it. So if they can't have Hell's Kitchen, they'll burn it to the ground before they let Matt win. Second question. Daredevil, Kenshi from Mortal Kombat, and Toph team up. What do they call themselves? The Sightless? I don't know. Third question. Even though he's blind, can Matt see why kids love the taste of Cinnamon Toast Crunch? Oh, you're a dick. Oh, God. Yeah, I think you can. Oh, I needed that. Okay, moving on now to Marcel Kelly, who asks, yeah, I already answered this one with the Spider-Man MCU and Daredevil and all that. Alright. Second question: which Punisher and Daredevil storyline should be used to reunite Matt and Frank in a future Daredevil season, or hopefully Punisher show? I would say, what was the one Frank Miller wrote with them? I know they used elements of that story in there, but maybe go the full story with both characters. I know they used elements of it in the series in the season 2, but yeah. Third question: Daredevil's defenders eventually getting the attention of S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers. How does that go down for you? I would say they would probably join up. You know, Thanos is coming. They gotta kick some ass. Alright. Moving on now to the Kane Matters show, who asks, do you think Daredevil is more agile than Spider-Man? So it's sometimes hard to tell. It varies between writers. Second question: what would happen if the Hand recruited these characters? Lord Aizen from Bleach, Zabu Zabu Mochi from Naruto, Makoto Shishio from Kenshin, Psycho Mantis from Metal Gear Solid, and Virgil from Devil May Cry. Daredevil's gonna get his ass kicked. Just no question asked. Alright. Third question: do you think the Hand is capable of mental reconditioning a Xenomorph and Predator? Maybe, yeah. So moving on now to Andre Partridge, who asks, how would Daredevil react to the Shredder and the Foot Clan? I think it would be like, it's not the Hand, but I gotta defend my city anyway. So, Matt's gonna, fight them regardless, and the Hand, the Foot Clan's just downright, here we are, we're gonna kick your ass. Alright, second question: what would Daredevil think of these characters? Sterling Archer, Kim Possible, Dibben Gaz, Randy Cunningham, L.T. Gray, Jake Long, Danny Phantom, Stan Smith, Black Dynamite, Brock Samson. I think you'd consider Archer a pervert, Kim potentially a cool sidekick, Dibben Gaz crazy and scary, Randy is a cool, pupil to train, L.T. Gray is just too untrustworthy, and Jake and Danny, cool kids. Stan, total asshole. Black Dynamite, more like total badass. And Brock Samson, crazy but a reliable guy. Third question: you think that Daredevil would make a good contender for a Mortal Kombat tournament? Yeah, but Ed Boon has said that, Marvel and DC characters are not going to be in the game, so, yeah, sorry. Alright, thank you for those questions, Andre. Moving on now to Xavier Ford, who asks, Netflix Daredevil or Dark Knight trilogy? Man. Daredevil, Netflix series, or Dark Knight trilogy? That is a tough one. I gotta give it to the Marvel Netflix show because I feel like it got, unlike a 2.5-hour movie, which has to, cram everything in there and still make it work without making it a mindless action scene. I think that Daredevil handled it in 13 episodes, 26 if you count all of them together, so, yeah. Anyway. Daredevil or actual cannibal Shia LaBeouf, who wins? Daredevil. Thinking of those questions, Xavier Ford. Moving on now to Green Flame Dragon 270, who asks, Casey Jones sees Daredevil's thinking. If Casey Jones sees Daredevil thinking he's a Foot Clan ninja, how bad does Matt kick his ass? Probably pretty bad. Daredevil, Randy Cunningham, and the Ninja Turtles join forces. What villains would they fight? The Sorcerer, the Hand, and Shredder. Third question. Kingpin hires Deathstroke to take out Daredevil. What happens? That would be an actually pretty badass fight. Daredevil and Deathstroke. That'd be a fight I'd love to see. I don't know who would win, but wow. That'd be just really freaking awesome. So think of those questions. Green Flame. Yeah, Green Flame Dragon. Moving on now to Jake Gross, who asks, what do you think of Leland Owlsley, a.k.a. the Owl? I think he's a really creepy villain in the comics. He's become more and more animal-like throughout them. Um, what do you think of the villain Ikari? Also pretty scary. A villain who, if I remember right, Ikari was the villain who had Daredevil's abilities, but he could even see. And even Matt was terrified of him. Um, yeah. Third question. Evil, Daredevil, and Bullseye, what would their personality and alternate names be? Maybe Dark Devil for, or just the Devil for Matt Murdock, and the Target for Bullseye. I don't know what their personalities would be, but there you go. So moving right along to 25 Kid, who asks, how would Daredevil react to Elektra dating Punisher, and what would he do? I think he would be like, oh God, I can't stop her. And Daredevil, she kills people, he kills people. I got to take their asses to Jerry Springer. Oh, it's going to be a shit show. Second question. What was your reaction to when Frank killed the pawn shop guy? I was like, for a second, honestly, I thought the pawn shop guy was going to turn out to be Microchip. I honest to God thought that he was going to turn out to be Microchip. And then when Matt's, then it was like, oh, he's just a slimy bastard who I'm pretty sure is going to get it. But then he's like, yeah, you like porn? I got 12-year-olds. And then I was like, oh, buddy, you should have shut your mouth. Because now he's going to kill you earlier than expected. Yeah. But, yeah, when he killed him, I was like, fuck yeah, bash his skull in, Frank. Alright. And again, another TMNT Daredevil crossover. Kind of already answered that, but I think it would be cool if it was an extended, interconnected universe. Alright. Moving on now to Boo Rat 1, who asks, what famous, good ones everyone loves, or infamous comic arc would you like to see them adapt in the Netflix show and made better? Of course, Born Again. I think that's a must. And some of the Mark Waid stuff. That's all I can think of. Infamous stuff, don't do Joe Quesada's Daredevil father. Do not do the father storyline, mini-comic. It was just trying way too hard to be Long Halloween. Let's just leave it at that, and it failed. Anyway. Second question. What is your your favorite alternate Daredevil from the comics? 2099, 1602, M2, Marvel Knights, etc. I think my favorite was 1602 because that dude was a cocky badass, and he kind of figured out, oh, my girlfriend Natasha's screwing me over, so I better stop her. Third question. What other Marvel characters would you like to see introduced in the first in the Daredevil Netflix series that hasn't got a live-action depiction yet? Like I said before, I don't want another... as much as I thought the Punisher stuff was cool, I'd like to see Daredevil for the next season or seasons be his own thing. I mean, I'd like to see them team up a few times, but I don't think I'd like to see them introduced. Like, I don't want Daredevil to be the Iron Man 2 of the Netflix series, where it's just trying to, build up this other part of the MCU. You know what I'm saying? So yeah. So think of those questions. Boo Rat. Moving on now to NX57, who asks, Daredevil versus She-Hulk in court. Who wins the case? That actually did happen in the Charles Schulz She-Hulk series. That was one of the two last issues where Daredevil and She-Hulk faced each other in court. How would it be if Daredevil met Dr. Midnight, Kenshi, and Toph? They would just be the most badass super team ever if they added... Yeah, if all of them together were there. Anyway. Thank you for those questions, NX. Moving on now to Shockwave Spider, who asks, who would you love to see and play Daredevil... Would you love to see him play a Daredevil video game? Yeah, like I said, yes I would. Daredevil versus Shredder, who wins? I can't... And I think it would be Matt, because Orokosaki gets a little ahead of himself sometimes, so I think it would be Daredevil. Which story arc from the comics is your favorite? Born Again and a majority of the Frank Miller run, but there are some really cool... I can't name them right off the bat, but there's some really cool Malieve and Brubaker stuff. especially with Brubaker, the Mr. Fear story arc. That's awesome. So, thinking about those questions, moving on now to Brony Gamer, who asks, with Spider-Man and Captain America Civil War, do you think it might have another shot of a live-action movie with a different actor? No. No, not at all. Daredevil he's part of that universe. Charlie Cox is the Daredevil of that universe. He's not going to get rebooted and have a different actor. Second question, Daredevil versus Spider-Man versus Deadpool. Who wins? Again, something that's kind of already happened. Daredevil and Spider-Man did fight Deadpool in a Deadpool miniseries that involved even the Punisher. All three of them were after Deadpool to stop him for a crime he didn't commit. Third question, what would happen if Daredevil fought Wolverine, and who would win and who would be the last man standing? Again, Daredevil and Wolverine fought before, and they fought to a draw. So, yeah. Thank you for those questions, Brony Gamer. Moving on now to Media Detective, who asks, what other secret society or groups would you like to see working with the Hand? Maybe the Brotherhood of Evil, the Foot Clan, maybe the Society of the Blind Eye from Gravity Falls. That'd be fucking hilarious. So, second question. Would you believe Hugo Strange would be a member of the Hand? Absolutely. I think he would join the Hand after being... If you want to go by the video game continuity, yeah, after being burned so bad by... if he lived, mind you, the League of Shadows, the League of Assassins, yeah, he would join them. Third question, how would you believe Daredevil will react to the characters Dipper Pine, Steven Universe, Deadpool, and Nathan? He knows Deadpool. He already knows what Deadpool's capable of. Steven, Dipper, and Nathan, I think it would be like... Dipper would be like, he's got a lot of potential. Nathan would be like, your ass is going to jail if you don't stop annoying me. And as for Steven, I think you'd just be thinking, oh, this kid's adorable. Yeah. So, anyway, thank you for those questions. Media Detective. Moving on now to Soundwave71 Mosley, who asks, what would the Question and Daredevil think of each other if they met? What would Vic Sage and Matt Murdock think of each other? I think they would both collectively think they're both kind of crazy in their own rights. But I find them kind of be like antagonistic towards one another, but I think they would be friends. Second question. If you could write a Gravity Falls and Daredevil crossover, how would you write it? How would I write it? I think I would have it that Stan has been accused of a crime, maybe as high as a murder, and no one believes him because it's Stan and he's an asshole and he's done, horrible stuff before. So maybe what I would have is that he reaches out to Nelson and Murdoch to help him, and they have to plead his case. Anyway, third question. How would Scorpion from Mortal Kombat work as a villain for Daredevil? Maybe have him brainwashed by the Hand, and Scorpion would be a dangerous opponent for Daredevil. He would just be this bloody and dangerous opponent for him, and it would just be utter chaos. But yeah, thank you for those questions, Soundwave. And I think that's all the questions. Once again, if I did not answer someone's question, that usually means it was marked as spam or not shown up at all. But once again, I want to thank everybody who sent in questions. This was awesome. And sorry for the wait, guys. But anyway, once again, hope you all enjoyed this, and I'm out.